Hey guys, how's it going? So today is Thursday and I thought I'm just going to come on here and kind of talk a little bit about how can we improve our energy, how can we improve our stomach issues. Where do we begin? I know I have a lot of new Facebook friends and I'm really enjoying getting to connect with each of you and get to know you better. Some of you may know a little bit about me, some of you may not, but basically, a handful of years ago I had a lot of health issues that were stomach related, autoimmune related. And we moved in 2017 because our house had mold and it was actually causing a lot of my illness that I didn't realize was going on at the time. So I say all that to say I've kind of been through the ringer when it comes to dealing with a lot of health issues. Long story short, I ended up being diagnosed. We found the mold. I was also diagnosed with Lyme. I have celiac disease, was diagnosed with that. And then we found a slew of gut infections, parasitic, yeast, bad bacterial overgrowth in nature. So was that enough? Really, I pretty much had a ton of things going on. But I ended up meeting a lot of people through that journey, and I met a lot of people on Facebook, and these days there's a lot of really awesome Facebook groups, and you pretty much could find a Facebook group for any ailment that you're dealing with. It could be an ailment, it could be a mom support group, whatever it is, there's probably a Facebook group for it. So that's the cool thing about having gone through those things in this era, is that I got to connect with a lot of really awesome people. And what I found is that a lot of people were going through the same thing. And even though people in my circle and my friends, they weren't experiencing these health issues, there's hundreds of other people experiencing the same thing. And I got to talking to them and listening to them, and it's crazy because I really got to, kind of take a step back and look at what people are talking about, what they're dealing with day in and day out. They're constantly complaining that they're tired. Most people are extremely tired, and most people have whether it be they know when they eat something it messes their stomach up, or their stomach hurts all the time and they don't know why. Stuff like that is going on all the time. A lot of people have IBS, and a slew of people have autoimmunity. So having met a lot of these people and just hearing what they're dealing with day in and day out, and knowing what it feels like having all the things that I had dealing with, this whole road. It's taken me years to get where I am now, in terms of recovery, and I'm still, it's a lifestyle. You don't really just get rid of some of these things. You have to just learn how to manage them. Well, I really got to thinking, and a lot of people will say, well, I went to my doctor and I have terrible heartburn, so they give me acid reducers. Or proton pump inhibitor medications. A lot of other people will have things steroids, steroid creams, steroid medications, because they feel inflamed, with autoimmune, your joints hurt, you just hurt, you feel puffy, you feel swollen. And then there's other people who are on immune suppressing drugs. And the thing of it is that having gone through all of this and just being in this world, I kind of dove into the world of functional medicine. And what that means is really just looking at the body as how can we make each organ function better to work together and treat the body as a whole, and really make sure that all of its systems are up and running properly, so that way things can work better, versus saying, okay, you have heartburn, here I'm just going to give you a pill for the heartburn. So instead of just treating the symptom, you're asking the questions why am I having the heartburn, and what could I do differently with my stomach acid, with my enzymes, with my digestion to make my heartburn go away. So it's kind of like the difference. So I dove into this world of functional medicine. Now I became, after all these years and going through all this stuff, I became a functional medicine health coach, and I get a lot of questions all the time. People will say like, well, you know, I just want to feel better, and if I'm having these issues, like, where do I begin? Like, I know I don't feel well, I know I don't have energy, I have autoimmune, I'm in pain, I have these things going on, but like, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know where to begin. And if that's you, drop an overwhelmed below. So there's 3 things. And having gone through this for, well, it's been since 2014, having been in this arena and approaching health this way, I've really learned a lot that there are root causes that it can come down to, and there's three specific things. So a lot of times, you know, you have to take a step back, and functional medicine will look for things that are creating your immune system to go awry. So a lot of times people will say, well, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune and my body's attacking itself, and the doctor's not really sure why. They say, here, take this thyroid medication, and that's what I have to do. Your body does not attack itself for no reason. It doesn't just decide one day that it wants to attack itself. And actually, when it is creating an immune response and attacking your joints with arthritis, or your thyroid with Hashimoto's, or your gut with celiac, whatever it is, whatever label you want to put on it, whenever your body decides that it wants to do that, it's actually trying to protect you. And the reason is because when you eat food, when you're exposed to chemicals in our foods, water, things like that, you ingest it and it goes all the way down through your entire intestinal tract. Well, the lining of your intestine, it's really important that it stays healthy, because if it's not healthy, the different toxins and inflammatory foods and things like that will actually wear away at that lining. And when that lining starts to wear away, we start to get little tiny holes and weakened areas of the lining. So then whenever you eat food or drink or whatever it is, you're consuming it, it's going down, and now we have these little tiny holes in the lining, and those proteins from those foods is leaking out into your bloodstream instead of staying inside your intestinal tract. So your body is really smart, and this is where it starts attacking. It's not really attacking itself. What ends up happening is those proteins from the food that leaks out into the bloodstream, it looks so similar to the tissues of your body that your immune system will get confused. And it will say, whoa, red flag, these proteins aren't supposed to be here in my bloodstream. Let's get rid of them. Let's bring out the sharpshooters, shoot them, get rid of them. But what ends up happening is it ends up attacking different parts of your tissues. So therefore it will start attacking your thyroid, or it will start attacking your joints, or whatever the diagnosis label is. And so that is the basis of how autoimmunity starts. So your body didn't just decide one day that it wanted to attack itself. It's actually doing that for a reason. It's trying to help you, and it's actually trying to clean up these invaders that's happening. So when we talk about functional medicine and we talk about looking at the body as a whole and all of its systems, one of the systems that's really important to look at is the gut, and specifically the lining of the gut and the lining of the intestinal tract and how healthy that is. And there are a few things that can definitely weaken it, and that can definitely cause this whole issue to be worse. And those are the things that you, that your mom, that me, that your grandma, all of us have control over. And so we are led to believe in this society that we don't actually have control over our health, and that most of it is genetic, and that because Hashimoto's or whatever the label is, runs in the family, then I'm probably going to get it. Genetics plays 5% role. So you actually can alter the other 95% with your diet, with your lifestyle, with supplements, with different things. And this is where you control that 95%. And so knowing this, and that lining of the intestines is super important, that it stays healthy, there's a handful of things that you can do. So when I talk to people as a functional medicine health coach and they say, well, okay, I already know that I don't feel well, and I'm already experiencing these symptoms such as inflammation and fatigue and stomach issues and joint pain. Like, I already know I have that, but like, where do I begin? That's where I really go over these 3 core things. And the first one is food. So there's a lot of opinions out there about food and which diet is best, which diet you should be doing. And the answer to that is that you have to tailor it to what works for you. However, we have to start somewhere. So I like to help people reduce inflammatory foods, because we know that there are a core handful of foods that are inflammatory, and that if we keep eating them, it's actually going to wear away at that lining of the intestinal tract, and it's just going to keep making it weaker, and it's going to make the issue worse. And so one of the top foods that does that is gluten. And even if you don't have celiac, or even if you don't have gluten sensitivity, or when you eat it your stomach doesn't hurt, but you have a lot of brain fog and joint pain and fatigue, it can still be a driver of those symptoms. So I found a book a handful of years ago when I started on this healing journey. This was back in 2015. I found this book, and I love it because it was kind of like the beginning of opening Pandora's box, and I started adopting a lot of this in my lifestyle and sharing it in my Facebook group, and it was really helpful to me, and it's been really helpful to a lot of other people, because when we talk about removing inflammatory foods, even that isn't helpful. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you really mean? So this book right here, it's called The Autoimmune Paleo Cookbook. It's by a girl that wrote it, Mickey Trescott. So there's multiple books that follow the same principles as this cookbook. But this cookbook in particular is really helpful. And because what it does is it eliminates the major inflammatory foods, the ones that are going to cause the most, like the big hitters that are going to be driving inflammation. And for a lot of people, when you adopt a lifestyle like this and you just take out those, it can be huge. It can be crazy healing for a lot of people. And then there's other people who do really great on it, but then they have to tweak it even more because they have a specific infection going on in their gut that needs addressed. So, which leads me to my next point. So the first point is adopting an anti-inflammatory diet. That's super, super, super helpful. The second thing is looking for infections in your gut. So when you go to the doctor, and I really, the reason I do these videos, the reason I have my Facebook group, we're going to do a challenge starting on Sunday. We're going to talk a lot about these things. It's just an educational challenge. The reason I do those things is because I want to empower you, and I want to empower you with the knowledge to know the questions to ask when you go to the doctor. So when you're having ongoing stomach issues and you're having ongoing fatigue and these issues, there are root things that you can look for in tests and different labs and things like that that really help get to the root cause of what's going on. So if you follow me for any amount of time, you know I'm always talking about toxins and making sure that the gut's healthy and things like that. Well, one of the things that can really be a driver to a lot of these autoimmune and inflammatory issues is gut infections like yeast overgrowth and candida overgrowth. And they will present themselves as skin rashes and eczema and a lot of itchiness and stuffy nose and bloating and digestive distress. Like, That's a big one. And that comes from eating a lot of over-processed foods, a lot of sugars, a lot of high carbs. So that's something that can be happening in the gut that you really don't know about, that can be causing the lining of the intestines to be weaker, and that can be driving this whole thing. The other thing that can be another really classic infection that can happen in the gut, well, there's a couple of them. One of them is something called SIBO, and that's basically where you just have too much bad bacteria in the digestive tract, and that will present itself as constant bloating, abdominal distension. You'll have things like, waking up in the morning with a flat stomach, but by the end of the night you look pregnant. Things like that. So that's a really common gut infection that can be brewing in there that you don't even realize is happening. And then you have things like mold, heavy metals, parasites. So these are all things that can be happening in the gut that need looked at. So removing inflammatory foods, looking at infections in the gut, and the other one is making sure that you are removing as much as possible, removing as much oxidative stress out of your body as you can. So oxidative stress is cell death, it's cell damage. So all of the cells in our body, our brain, the lining of our intestinal tract, everything, they become damaged and weak, and they start to rot like the browning of an apple. That starts to happen when they're exposed to chemicals, toxins, so whether that be GMOs, fluoride in the water, chemicals in our personal care products, whatever it is, any kind of chemical toxin. When we're constantly bombarded by those things, and it's not using it once, it's the using it over and over and over, and the accumulation of it that leads to this toxicity overload. So I like to think of it as a cup and a glass of water. And you put a little bit of water in the glass, and then maybe you have all of your personal care products, like your lotions, your soaps, your shampoos, your conditioners. All of those have toxins and chemicals and endocrine disruptors that are going to mess up your hormones because they're not clean products. Now you just filled the cup up a little bit more. And then let's say you have something really stressful that happens in your life. Somebody is really sick, or you go through a death, or something happens. That cup just filled up even more. And then let's say, you're constantly exposed, you have an environmental factor where you're exposed to mold in your environment or something like that. Well, now the cup is going to overflow because the cells have gotten so much oxidation and so much inflammation that the toxicity overload has overflown and the cup is overflowing. And that's usually when somebody says, okay, I went to the doctor and I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, and my body just started attacking itself for no reason, and I don't know why. It's not because it doesn't know why. It's because inflammatory foods, underlying gut infections, and oxidative stress are three things that will drive these inflammatory things. And they just drive inflammation, they drive disease, they drive fatigue, gut issues. And so this is literally like the tip of the iceberg, because there's a lot of things that you can do when it comes to, remember when I said 5% of what happens to us, genetics are 5%, and the other 95 we actually have the power to alter, and that's the exciting part. So like with our lifestyle, with our food, with our supplements, with all of these things, we have control over that, and we can tweak them, and we can make changes, healthy swaps, supplements to reduce oxidative stress, anti-inflammatory diets to nourish the gut instead of making it worse. All of these things. So when we start adopting all of these things into our life and we start practicing them over time, the body is amazing. And what does it do when you walk outside and you cut your arm? What does it start doing? it starts healing itself because it was designed to heal itself. And it's just like the autoimmune, it's not attacking itself, it's trying to protect itself. And it's trying to get rid of those invaders that are leaking out into the bloodstream. And so the body's constantly trying to get better, and it's constantly trying to heal itself. It just sometimes gets a little bit confused and needs some extra support. And so, and yes, Natasha, you're absolutely welcome for, yeah, I love sharing this kind of information. I think it's so important to share because these are things that a lot of times we just feel overwhelmed with, and we're like, where the heck do we start? I know I felt that way at the beginning of my journey, and little by little, the more we can adopt these things into our lifestyle, it's just gonna help our body overall. So what I want to invite you guys to, if you're not, a lot of you are a part of this 7-day wellness jumpstart to wellness that I'm doing. It's going to start on Sunday. There's no commitment. It's educational purposes only. So I'm going to be going live inside my Facebook group every day for the 7 days and doing videos like this, basically sharing different health topics. You're also going to get an opportunity to win a prize that goes with that health topic. So I'm going to be giving away things like things to reduce oxidative stress, things to help with gut health, different probiotics, different non-toxic products. So you're going to get a Facebook Live. You can watch that on the replay, whatever works for you, and also an opportunity to win a prize, and then also anti-inflammatory recipes and cheat sheets and things like that that are really going to help you take your health to the next level and take it to the next step and empower you with the tools that you need for healing and for making healthy swaps for you and your family. So I'm excited about it. A lot of people are really excited about it too. If you know a friend that, hey, they would love something like this as well, or they would benefit from this video, then please share it with them. And also, all you have to do to get into the challenge is to send me a message. So if you send me a message, I'll make sure I get you in the group, and I'll tag you in the announcement post, and you'll get to hear all the juicy details of how it works. And it's going to be a great time, and my heart is to always empower you with the knowledge and the tools that you need to take your health back. I believe we're always forever learners. I certainly don't know everything. I'm learning too, and I learn from this group and from everyone in the group just as much, honestly. It's an amazing community. So honestly, I think that it's just important to, when we go through life and we go through hard times and we learn from it, sharing it with others to try to help them as well. So that's what this community is about. That's what the challenge is about. And I'm excited about it. Please share this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. And if you're not in the group, or maybe you have questions or you're unsure, just send me a message and I can get you plugged in. So have an awesome week this week, and I will probably see you in a couple days. But it starts Sunday, so I'll see you soon. Bye.